Hi, this is Jen Rubin, editor-in-chief of the Contrarian and Dodger fan. I'm delighted to have with us for the first time Pablo Torre, who needs no introduction to sports fans the world over. Welcome, Pablo. Great to see you.
I was underestimating the homerism, the rank Dodger partisanship, Jen, when I agreed to do this with you, but thank you nonetheless.
Absolutely. You know, we all fall in love with the team of our childhood. And having grown up most of my life in Southern California, you always remember the infield of your childhood. In my case, it was Garvey, Lopes, Russell, Say. What can I say?
What I will say is that the infield of my trauma is Yankee Stadium Game 5. And it's Garrett Cole, not knowing how to deal with a certain slow rolling, maybe not slow enough rolling infield single, which proceeded to, I don't know, make me question why I love the New York Yankees. But also that's going on in this interaction between the two of us. Yeah.
Exactly. I must say that fifth inning was like no other. My husband and I have a sports divergence. I am a Cal Berkeley alum, my husband's Stanford. So that kind of ranks up there with the big game, the band, the whole thing.
Someone's getting hit with a tuba is what I'm getting from your dynamic. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, unfortunately, the Dodgers paid a visit to the White House today.
Amazing timing for our conversation.
What happened? Yes.
I would say that the lead story here is that Donald Trump continues to expose how little he knows about sports, despite getting all of the credit for being the guy who speaks to sports fans everywhere. It's one of the most infuriating ongoing subplots of our political discourse is how the left has abdicated sports because Donald Trump knows how to talk to the men of America. And meanwhile, Jen, he is saying things like, when you ran out the healthy arms, you ran out of really healthy ... They had great arms, but they ran out. It's called sports. It's called baseball in particular. And pitchers, I guess you could say, really particular ... And it's just the latest example of how this guy gets credit for, and I would say this most generously, looking like a guy who would know about sports without at every possible pop quiz, not even a pop quiz, at every possible opportunity, revealing that he actually has no idea, for instance, what a pitcher is or who Patrick Mahomes might be, which we learned during the Super Bowl.
And if you asked him to name a single player on the Dodgers, do we think he could do it? No.
No. I think he would think that Freddie Freeman looks very different from what Freddie Freeman might look like, actually, if you were to see him on a field or on a baseball card. I think you might have some instincts about who to like and not like based on names that actually aren't validated by necessarily reality. But the Mahomes thing, I have a lot to get off my chest about this topic because I live at this intersection and I just see him showing his ass all of the time and not get called out for it. But when him and Tommy Tuberville show up to do this act in which one of them actually literally was a college football coach of some, mediocre renown, but SEC, that's a pedigree, sure. Note. When they combine, because one of them is trying to please the other, and the other, the president in question, just wants to talk as if no one's going to fact check him, we get notions like the idea that, hey, Tommy Tuberville, you coached Patrick Mahomes, didn't you? He's one of your favorite. You guys love each other. And Tommy Tuberville has to do, in the Kremlinology of all of this, a nod along kind of
sure,
definitely. Didn't infamously pass on him and refuse to actually scout him in person, which is what happened in real life, because he, in fact, deserves the opposite credit for his relationship with Patrick Mahomes, which Mahomes then said in a way that didn't get picked up enough, Jen, is what I'm here to tell you. We're swallowing so much BS with sports from this White House that it infuriates anybody who knows
And
sports.
That's right. So now have we given up on the idea that any sports team would stay away from Donald Trump? Are they just all going to go there? I guess if the Dodgers go, everyone goes now, right?
I think there is a strain of republicanism that has been mainstreamed through, by the way, dudes who don't really care about anything political beyond being able to make fun of people who have Down syndrome and call stuff gay. That's
Yes.
just sort of been like, it's that kind of an administration. They just want to let the bros be bros. And again, he presents as in that way an in-kind ally, but yeah, it's I am also calculating the poetry of this, right? As the markets are tumbling,
Yes.
as there is just so much evidence, Jen, that the guy driving the car of our country is just blackout drunk.
Yes.
I am wondering who is going to point out in sports that we got to get out of the car.
Yeah.
And sports has been typically late to lead on this sort of a subject because
Right.
they're not really paying attention.
No.
They probably should pay attention to the markets. These guys who are gathered there, all of whom have portfolios, I imagine, which have real
Absolutely.
stakes in said market. But I think it is in this regard, again, the soft factor pop culture branding that is enabling sports to be used by this administration in ways that are indefensible and against the interests of everybody who wants to see this car not get crashed.
Right. He's taken over the Kennedy Center. I pray he doesn't take over Nat Stadium and the
Oh,
other venues in the DC area. But let me ask you, this is probably the greatest week in golf, the Masters. I mean, even people who don't know anything about golf love the Masters. It's gorgeous, it's historic. And then you have this guy in the White House who cheats at golf, who makes up tournaments at his own facility that he supposedly has won. I don't know if he gives himself a trophy or not, but it's pretty absurd. Talk to us a little bit about the mentality of someone who would cheat at the world's most gentlemanly and gentlewomanly sport of all, which is golf.
yeah, it is very clear that the sport that Donald Trump does know something about and loves and practices is golf. And it is telling that he sees golf the way that Vladimir Putin sees hockey. And I say this on the same occasion to celebrate Alex Ovechkin. Of course,
Yes.
a local
895.
kid when it comes to the NHL, a Russian product when it comes to the metaphor here. But
Yes.
Donald Trump treats golf the way that Putin treats hockey, as in, you play Vladimir Putin in an exhibition and he scores 10 goals. And everybody's like, amazing work, sir. The greatest we've ever seen. And this is exactly what Trump does on the golf
Right.
course, except in a truly even more humiliating way. He is cheating at the lowest stakes aspects of it, right?
Yes.
So the part of him that is so part and parcel with the understanding I have of him is that if he's doing this when it comes to low stakes stuff like a private fake golf tournament that he's going to win anyway, what is he doing when it comes to the stuff that matters? It reminds me
Exactly.
it reminds me, Jen, about we did a story on my show, Pablo Torre Finds Out, about Elon Musk cheating at video games.
Oh
And it
my
was a
goodness.
horrifying, just like deeply, as the kids say, like cringeworthy scandal
Yeah.
because you really needed to cheat at video games in a way that got you caught by anybody, again, who knows video
Right.
games. Again,
Right.
always going back to who are the fans of this stuff actually, who are they going to call out for breaking the rules? It turns out if you're egregious enough, they will call out the most powerful people in the world because it's offensive to the basic code of dignity, let alone
Yes.
honor.
Yes. And
Of
imagine
like
that you're breaking
we
the code of gamers. They have more personal dignity and esteem than these oligarchs who are running around rigging the rules.
and it's because there is, I think, in sports and competition, Jen, this fundamental notion that this is the closest thing to meritocracy that we have.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so if you're going to abrogate the basic premise of fair play when it doesn't even matter, you're terrible about the strategy and you're terrible about the ethics. And if that's not a metaphor for everything we're seeing happen, come home to roost right now, all you got to do is understand Trump playing golf to really get a sense of what it must be like, again, in the Oval Office when it comes to certainly economic policy.
Exactly. Now, we have just gone through the women's basketball tournament. The men's final is today. The NBA is moving towards their final. I guess the question I have is, does everyone get into post regular season play now? They've so expanded in this hunt for money. Have you made the regular season kind of meaningless in some of these sports? Is this just greed? We need more. We need more coverage. We need more commercial time. Like, what happened to like only the best going on to be in the playoffs?
It's a really good question. And it's something that I am monitoring all the time as I am fascinated by sports business. I am
Yeah,
fascinated by the way in which everybody is realizing, certainly Saudi Arabia has realized, oh, wait a minute, like this is a product that could be used for our own ends. And if our own ends for them happen to be sports washing, okay, that's one mission. If the other
right.
mission, though, is just maximizing revenue, then what you want is more playoff games. And so the
Yes.
math is as simple as you lay it out. Every sports fan knows this. We all tune in for the stuff that means the most. The NFL, by the way, its supremacy as the dominant monoculture in American life is because the regular season games feel like playoff games. The NBA's existential crisis is that the regular season games feel like preseason games.
Yes.
And so the
Yes.
more playoffs that we could have, expanding fields, right? Ensuring that the teams with the most get in. I mean, I hearken back to it was so fascinating to watch the idea of the Super League emerge in Europe.
Yes, it went, it came, it went. Yes.
And because they tried to again compromise the integrity of competition by ensuring that, hey, only the richest, most powerful, most famous brands need to be in this because we bring the
Yeah.
most audience. Therefore, we have the levers of monetization, of revenue. All these Cinderellas and Davids, you guys can stay home. We got this. And what happened in Europe is something that was deeply inspiring to me
Yeah.
because people treated that like Occupy Wall Street. They
Yes.
protested, they occupied stadiums, they
Right.
made it so that it was untenable for such a plan to change the product that in their world, in the way that we fell in love with the Dodgers and the Yankees respectively, was an heirloom inherited
Yes.
by their parents. It means something deeper than just a bottom line.
Yes.
And the more that we corrupt what makes this thing the actual laboratory of meritocracy, a laboratory of so many metaphors that every politician loves to deploy, if we
Exactly.
get away from that sanctity, frankly, we are missing the forest for the trees. And so
Abs-
I am worried. I am worried that the financialization of everything is also going to threaten to do that here as well.
Last question for you. Being an English soccer fan myself, one of the things I love about that sport is relegation. For those who
Mm.
don't know, the bottom three teams of a league, you go down a league, and the top teams of the one below it get a chance to move up. What a fabulous idea. Talk about meritocracy. It makes those games really important at the end of the season. Could we ever do anything like that in the United States? Would the economics just be prohibitively expensive and outrageous for people?
It is the exact thing that the Super League was designed to preempt, right? And
Exactly.
it is, from an entertainment perspective, it's such a great idea. I am with
Yeah.
you. It is the thing I'm most jealous of because I come to sports not only for my own unrepentant biases and homerisms. I come to
Yes.
it because what you get at stake is something that is more than just a loss. It can be
Yes.
humiliation. It can be not merely an emotional consequence. It can be, in this case, an actual demotion to a lower league. And
Exactly.
and what's so funny about America when you see it through the lens of sports is that socialism is quite convenient, actually.
Yes.
We love to decry the socialism when it comes to American society broadly, but when it comes to the ways in which sports likes to protect those in power, it's funny. Like there are just all of these devices and mechanisms that don't necessarily read like ideas that the great capitalists would encourage.
Exactly.
But you give a great capitalist a franchise in Oklahoma City and you say, are you in favor of a draft in which nobody has freedom of choice when it comes to who they work for? And you're going to get revenue shared with you by the richest teams. And they're like, well, actually, we don't need to be that American.
Exactly.
So to just put a neat bow on it, I love relegation. I want us all to have the courage of our convictions when we say that we are the best and we want to prove it meritocratically. What I really do suspect, though, is that everybody is so, frankly, self-protective of their own interests economically that they will compromise the principles that they claim in every other fact and facet of American life. And so don't expect it, Jen, is what I unfortunately
You know what? I
tell
love
you.
relegation so much. We should do it with politicians. Like the worst three senators go back to the state legislature. You know, the worst governors, they go back to being mayors. So that would be like, you know, a real meritocracy.
I love that. I love the idea. And by the way, like, yes, if you I love the idea of being held to account by a local populace, by the way.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
Guess who's waiting for you? And guess who you have to win over again? The people that you maybe grew up around.
Yeah,
and those folks, and not the pork barrel interests, are going to be the ones that you have to meet when it turns out you didn't fulfill the promise of your own potential. That would be nice, I would dare say.
Exactly. Well, this has been so much fun, Pablo. We are definitely going to have you back. I love sports, as you can tell. I love talking about sports, as you did. And I think there is nothing more interesting than the intersection of sports and politics, sports and economics, sports and culture. That is really where it's at. So we will welcome you back, and your psychedelic background too, which we
That's
love.
right.
And yes, so have a great week. Enjoy the basketball, enjoy the Masters, enjoy it all. And we will see you again soon.
I will never forgive you for making me think about Garrett Cole, and I thought was a safe space. I thought that's what I was entering. But other than that, it's been a total delight.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.